Hello everybody, I hope you are all doing fantastically and that you're excited to learn how to diagnose the sound of a bad drive pulley on your engine. Today I'm going to be demonstrating with my 2001 Toyota Tacoma V6. I've been hearing a very strange noise recently when I've been driving around. It kind of sounded like a weird rattle, it's kind of maybe like a bearing catching on something, and I wasn't really sure what it was. I initially thought it was my power steering pump. If you watched my video last week where I talked about stripping the lock nut for my power steering pump, then you know a little bit about this already. And I was making a video for that, but during the process of replacing the lock nut, I actually found the real source, and it wasn't the power steering pump. So that just goes to show that even though you might be reasonably convinced that you know the solution to a problem on your vehicle, you're not always necessarily right. And so it's really important to double check, make sure you're doing everything properly when you are doing do-it-yourself maintenance on your vehicle, because you don't want to buy the wrong part that actually works and then end up wasting money because it actually still works for you. So let's go ahead, start her up so I can demonstrate the noise to you guys, and then we'll get to diagnosing it. I'm actually going to start the camera recording down here so you guys can hear the sound, since it's going to be coming off of the belts that are just in there. Alrighty, so if we look inside our engine bay, there is a pretty loud rattle that is going on somewhere in this engine. Now, if you look at the power steering pulley, it is wobbling a little bit, so that's what made me think that that was the culprit. However, closer inspection revealed that that was not the case. So today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to diagnose this, a noise similar to this. It could be any one of these pulleys on the engine. I know which one it is because I already found it out, but I'm going to diagnose it for you now and show you guys how to do it. Alright, step number one is going to be to disconnect the negative battery cable. That way the vehicle doesn't start when we are working on it. That would be pretty bad. Just go ahead and loosen that enough that you can pull the cable off, and voila, we're good. Make sure also that none of the metal on here is touching any metal inside your engine bay, and you'll be golden. So just hold that in there. There we go, we're good. However, this next part is going to be a bit more tricky. Not all vehicles have skid plates or skid trays. However, for those who do, you're going to have to take off at least the front section of it. Mine has two sections. There's this front bit, and then there's another farther down. But we are going to have to take off this front one. They're just 4 12mm bolts at each corner of it. Not too terrible in terms of labor, but it is heavy and a bit messy. Is what it is. You wouldn't think that this would be that important because you can see all of the pulleys from the front of the engine without this removed. However, it is important that you can see in there and really get a good look at everything, and so it is pretty important actually that you do take off the skid plate or skid tray if you have one. Once you get all of the bolts or screws or whatever holds in your skid tray, it should be relatively easy to remove. With mine, I have to lift it from the back and slide it forward. Alrighty then, with the skid plate now removed, we can more freely see up into the engine. So with that in mind, let's go ahead, start her back up and see if we can see any of the pulleys down here wiggling. You will have to temporarily reconnect the negative battery cable for this. Now look up in there, look for something moving around suspiciously, and if you look right there at my idler pulley, you really can't see it on camera. That pulley is actually wobbling back and forth like this. I'm gonna pull the camera out. The idler pulley is doing this. It's not very dramatic, but it's definitely there, and I can definitely see it with my eyes. So let's go ahead, turn the engine off, disconnect that battery cable again, and then we'll go down there and check it with our hands to make sure. Just our visual inspection, I'm gonna go and check that one with my hand first. However, you do wanna try and check all the pulleys in the engine bay with your hand. And ideally, this will be best done with the belts removed. However, the idler pulley is so bad that if you watch, look at that idler pulley, it really has way too much play in it. I can move it back and forth with my hand, and I'm quite confident now that this is the culprit of the noise. Wow, the whole fan shroud's a bit precarious there. That's nice. Let's try left hand. Yeah, left hand. Hopefully you can see it even better how much that moves. That is no bueno. Very, very bad. Really don't want that. So, definitely planning on replacing my idler pulley way too much play there. And let's go ahead and check some of all the other pulleys with our hands too, just to be sure. So this is the AC compressor. Feeling that feels very solid. I can't feel any play, movement, wiggle in that compared to this, which there is quite a bit. So that's a good sign with the AC compressor. The harmonic balancer is right here, smack dab in the center. It's right there. Feeling that though, that's nice and solid as well. Going back to our wonderful power steering pump that I thought was the culprit the entire time, when in reality it was innocent. It doesn't move at all when I touch it with my hands. When I had the belt off the other day, it did move just barely. Nothing worth worrying about. Nothing like that idler pulley. Definitely not the source of our problem. And then right here in the center is the water pump and the fan pulley. That feels very solid as well. So I think we can reasonably conclude with all of that the idler pulley is the culprit of my noise. Now, if you wanted to go crazy in depth, what you would want to do is you'd want to take your belts off. That varies engine by engine. So I'm not going to tell you guys an exact procedure step by step for that. I will give you a general idea of what you would do with this engine specifically. So for the power steering belt, which is the first one you have to take off because this engine has 3 belts, curse you Toyota. You would first want to loosen this bolt, and then that shiny one in there, that's the lock nut that I had to replace because I was dumb and stripped it. And then there's another tensioner for the power steering pump and pulley system that is back behind there, and that one's a pain to get to, so that was fun to mess with. Not when you are replacing your second belt. I'm actually going to go down to the bottom. There's usually some sort of tensioner with these. I'm not actually entirely sure where it is. I would guess it might be that bolt for the idler pulley to loosen. Not going to mess with it right now because I don't have a new idler pulley right now, and I really would rather not mess anything up. That's pretty straightforward. And then I believe, as I was saying, I believe the third belt with the alternator is all related to these bolts right here, being flex bit points. Not this one, obviously. This is the dipstick attachment, but this one, and maybe a couple others. Possibly this one that's covered up by this cover back here. You would want to remove all your belts. Like I said again, you want to do this on an engine by engine basis. It's not going to be a universal thing. Some vehicles only have one belt called a serpentine belt for this whole thing. Others have individual drive belts, like my vehicle. It really depends, case by case basis. Like I said, that's how you would go about if you wanted to really go in depth diagnosing these. You would take all the belts off, wiggle the pulleys individually with the belts removed. However, because the idler pulley is so loose and the noise, now that I've taken the skid plate off, is clearly coming from that idler pulley, I am going to leave it at that and get a new idler pulley, because even if that isn't the source of the noise, actually, I still need to replace that. The play on it is just entirely unacceptable, not safe, and we don't want that, obviously, for our vehicle. So everybody, if you did enjoy this video about diagnosing faulty drive pulleys on your vehicle, please go down there, leave a like on this video, and leave a comment down below telling me what you like. If you have any commentary for how I can improve, please go ahead, leave that down there below as well. Subscribe to my channel for more awesome automotive how-tos, vlogs, and just generally interesting automotive content from me. I upload every week at noon Central Time on Saturday, so make sure that you tune in then so you can be some of the first people to see and comment on my videos, and share this video with all your friends so that they can learn how to do this as well. Peace out, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic day. Signing off.